Namaste, Usada.
Namaste. Hi, I'm here. Yeah.
All right,
Switch my
Usada. We
microphone.
are on Hindu Lounge number 15, and I want to welcome you. By the way, I am Ajay Shah. I am the Executive Vice President for World Hindu Council of America. That's VHPA. And with me is, as always, Utsav Chakrabarti. He's the Executive Director for Hindu Pact and Director for Awareness and Advocacy for World Hindu Council of America. And we come live every week at around 11 o'clock on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, and do this live show called Hindu Lounge, and where we discuss contemporary American Hindu issues every week. And so there is never a dull moment. There's never a dull week. Not dull week, not dull day, not dull moment. We always have things going on that are of interest to Hindus, and we bring them up. We talk about them, and we usually, have a discussion with our viewers. They post things on the chat. They interact with us by calling us, and all the in all multiple different ways. So first, I want to welcome our viewers. I want to welcome you, and I want to welcome people who are going to call in today, because we are last week we had a great show where we had people who were protesting in front of the Chinese embassy. We brought them in live. This time we are really hoping that some of our viewers and listeners actually dial in and interact with us. I am going to post the numbers that they can dial, and I'm going to welcome them and welcome them to share their views. So that this week was really a very hectic week for people who are following the Hindu issues in America. We had three big issues, and I want to allude to all three of them and have you introduce at least the issues. I think the first issue that we had was about the New York City, where they passed a resolution which designated swastika. So that they designated swastika, a symbol that indicates auspiciousness in Hindu Dharma for well over 10,000 years. And not only that, it is a symbol of auspiciousness in almost all the cultures, in Native American cultures, South American cultures, in ancient European cultures, the other Asian cultures around the world. This is a symbol of auspiciousness. And so the people who are ignorant in New York Senate called this a symbol of hate. And we will dive deeper into this. And so then the next thing we'll talk about is all these cities around the country that are passing this Hindu-phobic resolutions. And they have a pretext. They talk about CAA in India and all the other things, but at the heart of it, these are really Hindu-phobic resolutions, and we're going to talk about that. And the third issue is an issue that is emerging, and it has come up in the state of California, where state of California has sued one of the biggest tech companies, Cisco, for caste-based discrimination. And it is, well, look, nobody is for discrimination of any kind. We are all for diversity and inclusion, and we think everyone should be treated equally. But to take something that is not inherent to Hindus, it is a jati, as we talked about a few episodes ago, prevalent everywhere, and then to use that caste label to marginalize Hindus, okay? To take the caste label and marginalize Hindus who may be perfectly innocent, and just because of their last name or just because of some other attribute, to say that, okay, now we are going to make a political issue out of it and make sure that the Hindu identity gets erased in America. That is what is of concern to Hindus in America. All of this taken together, Utsoda, in 1 week tells us that there are some warning signs for Hindus in America. They're emerging warning signs for Hindus in America. And Hindus better realize that, and Hindus prepare themselves for this storm that is going to come. Utsada, your comments, and then we'll go into one issue after the other. Once again, I welcome all our viewers to call in and share their opinion. This is Hindu Lounge. It's an initiative of World Hindu Council of America. And within World Hindu Council of America, we have a Hindu Pact, which is our policy research and advocacy initiative. And Hindu Lounge is part of that. And once again, to Utsav Chakrabarti, he is the Director of Advocacy and Awareness for World Hindu Council of America. Welcome, Utsav.
Namaste, Ajay Bhai, and namaste everybody who have joined us today. And this is our 15th show. And the world around us in America couldn't have been more busy and exciting and terrifying at the same time. This was one of those weeks where we, as members of the Hindu community in America, more than 4 million of us, were literally attacked across the country in different ways. So as Ajay Bhai mentioned, from San Francisco to New York, we faced resolutions, bills that we had to stand up to, because all of them were peddling untruths, misinformation, and in some cases, plain hatred. So we are going to discuss some of these resolutions and some of the bills that were brought. And we are also going to discuss a larger pattern today of what's emerging for the American Hindu community in particular, and the Hindu community around the world in general. And we will also look into why it is happening. And we'll go into some of the background of it, some of the players involved in it. And this has been upcoming for a while. And this is an indicator for all Hindus, whether they are active politically, whether they're active socially, whether they are just there to live a good life and make a good living, positive living. It's going to affect all of us, and it's going to affect the most the younger generation of American Hindus, many of whom have been born and brought up here, because it's not the ones who are older, who came as immigrants, who are being targeted in this. It's the younger generation who call themselves Hindu and who are part of American society, who are being targeted, who are being doxxed, and who are being misrepresented in many of these efforts. So Ajay Bhai, we can go to a slide with which to begin our New York resolution, or do you want to start with the San Francisco one?
Let's start with the New York resolution and swastika. Utsada, I'm going to share the screen, and I would, please share your comments. And while you are giving your comments, I'm going to post in the dial-in numbers so everyone can dial in. And share their views. Okay. So here's the screen, and please. These are the 3 topics of the day. And so here is the New York City resolution. And I want to just read one thing and then turn it over to you. And the New York City resolution says the schools basically will give the instructions regarding the symbols of hate. The regions shall ensure the course of instruction for grades 6 to 12 includes a component of the meaning of the swastika as the emblem of Nazi Germany. Okay, and then they add news to it and all of that. Also, I kind of found it interesting that swastika, which is considered to be a symbol of wellness, an auspicious symbol, is included here as symbol of hate, but ISIS flag is not included as a symbol of hate. And just think of the amount of atrocities. Now, I don't read Arabic, so I don't even know what that flag says. But we don't even want to go into what that flag says. But I find it interesting that ISIS flag, which actually perpetuated the hatred for last, 5 years, 6 years, is not even mentioned. But swastika, a 10,000-year-old symbol, is mentioned. So the I please do comment on that uh, and talk a little bit about swastika.
Yeah. So Ajay bhai, this is a enduring conversation, and it's been going on at least for the last 70 years. And the fact that today it is being still discussed shows the level of colonial mindset that has persisted around the world since the 1950s. Here is why I say that. The swastika, which is a Sanskrit word which means well-being, uh, has been used as a symbol of well-being, auspiciousness by the dharmic communities. And by dharmic communities, I mean Hindus who have been across Asia, then by extension, Buddhists, Jains, all these philosophical schools that emerged and ran parallel out of Hindu Dharma, uh, as well as practices, religious practices in Europe, which today we would consider as Hindu practices, going back 7,000 years, 8,000 years, all across Central Asia, Europe, and the Russian, Ural, Caucasian region. So this has been a symbol of wellness across the civilizations. And it continues, despite all other, some of the places in Europe having been Christianized and converted to Christianity, in the parts that have still got dharmic practices, it continues to be a symbol of wellness. That symbol, which has an enduring legacy of positivity for the last 10,000 years, was taken up. Just the symbol, not the name, and I'll go into that. That symbol was taken up by a fanatical, ideological group called Nazis coming out of Europe 70 years ago, 80 years ago. And it was not adopted as swastika by them. It was adopted as Hakenkreuz by Hitler and made an emblem of the German Socialist Party. And since then, all the horrible atrocities that were committed in Europe, with absolutely no participation of any dharmic community. In fact, all the dharmic communities in that time were being colonized by European powers who were fighting this war. That symbol is now representative of the Nazi party, and it's being called swastika, even though Hitler himself never used the word swastika. He called it the Hakenkreuz, which is the hooked cross. And he used the flag with the swastika sign on it and called it the Hakenkreuz flag. So for something that was never actually even named by the Nazi party to get banned and get treated and appropriated as a symbol of hate by those who don't know anything about it and it doesn't mean anything to them is really sad. It's an example of how the world is still colonized and only believes in colonial narratives, and it is giving the Hindu community around the world a really bad time 70 years after it was used. So it is really tragic, and I'm very happy that at this point of time, even though the New York resolution was passed by the Senate in New York, by the Democratic Party, controlled by the Democratic Party, it was not passed by the Assembly, so it never reached the governor as it stands now. But it brings up a much more enduring conversation, Ajay Bhai. And that enduring conversation is that what does it take for the world to recognize that the swastika has been a symbol for the Hindus for 10,000 years? And not just the Hindus, all the other dharmic communities that share our theology, our historical symbols. And so Buddhists, Jains, it's been there in the dharmic communities of China, Japan. So what will it take for the world to recognize that? And why is it that people consider this a low-hanging fruit to divert attention from real issues of anti-Semitism, from real hate against the Jews that emerges from communities that have nothing to do with the Hindus? In fact, the Hindus are as much hated, if not more hated, by many of these communities who hate the Jews. So this is the conversation that all of us need to promote, because if we don't talk about it now, then the time will come when we will not have anything left of Hindus to vilify. It will all be taken away from us. And we ourselves as a community face an existential threat. So So this is the conversation we needed to have, and this is the conversation I would urge everybody to have. And
So that I want to, you're so right. And I want to show this book. It is available on Project Gutenberg website. It's the swastika, the earliest known symbol, and its migration. Now, this is written in 1800s, way before Hitler was ever there. And it traces from the colonialist perspective, but it still kind of indicates there are 1800 different forms of swastika, and these swastika existed in every culture, just about every culture, as a sign of auspiciousness. And regardless of what this book claims, I think it is the influence of Hindu Dharma throughout the world, and in some cases maybe it independently evolved, we don't know, but at least in the parts where we clearly know that Hindu Dharma had influence, this symbol has exactly the same meaning everywhere. Now, if you go down, I found this quotes kind of rather interesting, and you may take a quick look at these quotes. So it says that the one that I really found fascinating was the one by James B. Lawrence, and it says the new discovery shows that American soldiers used the swastika as their symbol early in World War I and up to 1941 against Germany. The symbols was used by Americans in the French, by the 45th Infantry Division and on Boeing P-12 planes. And also it was used by socialists in America because it kind of indicated a socialist society, SS. And also it says how the Europeans rediscovered swastika in 19th century and all of that. So the reason for bringing all this up, Sada, is that, look, I mean, this is a symbol that is universally used. Okay, it was always used through the history, but one person goes in a history of time, takes a different form of their symbol, doesn't even call it swastika, calls it Huck and Cross, and appropriates this symbol, right? And now, all of a sudden, there is a movement that says that, regardless of what it was used for 10,000 years, because somebody abused this symbol for 10 years or 5 years, stop using it. So here is actually, the actual declaration which established the Reich flag, that established the swastika flag as a new national flag of Germany. But if you read this, and we have a reference here, it's on archives.gov, the original document, and in this document, the word swastika does not appear. The word swastika in the actual German document does not appear. The word that is actually in the document is Hakenkreuz, which is a hooked cross. A hooked cross. Hitler did not use the word swastika. And here is a documentary proof that says that Hitler used the word Hakenkreuz and did not use the word swastika. Okay, so go ahead, Utsoda.
I think, as I mentioned, Hitler never used the word swastika. He used the word hooked cross, Hakenkreuz, because it related to the Christian symbol of cross. And that's what most Germans identified with. So that shows the disingenuity of this individual who doesn't even care about what is what. He's just a propagandist who is using a symbol that he thinks is looking cool to rally his people to war and hatred. What I believe is very important for us is to do two things as American Hindus. First, ourselves understand the history and what swastika means to the Hindu community. So I would go into that. I will explain what it means and what its symbol is. And number two, and here, I'm going out on a limb here, and I might get a lot of calls and brickbats about it from our own community for saying this. We should actually go out and embrace the swastika as a sign of the Hindu community, because believe me or not, those who are appropriating the swastika as the Hakenkreuz, the white supremacists, the Nazis, the neo-Nazis, they love to hate us as much as they love to hate the Jewish community. And it's pure hate that they show them. So nothing messes up a neo-Nazi more than a dark-skinned person like me actually talking about my history of the swastika, which is the real history going back 10,000 years. Let's all do that. Nothing beats the neo-Nazi better than that.
So I don't know how far they will bother with it or not bother with it. I'm not I just don't know. I want to, but where it really matters. So where it really matters is what does the Jewish community think about this? And the Jewish community, so the has they have gone through a really difficult time in history. When Hitler was there, 6 million Jews were killed, and people have misused the word swastika. So when they hear the word swastika, even if the symbol is quite different, and in German language, Hitler never used the word swastika. He always used Hakenkreuz and all of that. But Jewish community justifiably gets some flashbacks and nightmares if they see the word swastika being used.
Absolutely.
However, Utsavda, the VHPA in Washington D.C. worked with AJC and produced a brochure, explained to AJC that, hey, look, this was a couple of years ago, that, hey, look, here is the symbol, that is swastika. That's a historic significance for almost all the cultures in the world. And here is the Hakenkreuz. And you know what, Utsoda? The AJC actually came and said, we understand, and we will publish a brochure. We publish a brochure that is indicative of that respects and shows that the swastika that Hindus used is not the same as the swastika that was used by, or Hakenkreuz that was used by Hitler, right? And there is a difference, and they use the word swastika in the brochure, that's why I said that, but really Hakenkreuz is not the same as, is not quite the same as swastika.
Correct.
So
and Ajay, I would like you to, I would like you to show that screen.
Right here, it is showing. Yeah.
Correct. So it so happens that, about 10 years ago, I think 10, 11 years, 2009, I think, I was part of the meeting that where this was discussed and the content was created. It was a meeting between the American Jewish Committee and the World Hindu Council of America, Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, on whose behalf we are talking now, having this show. And the American Jewish Committee really wanted to understand the position of the Hindu community on this issue. And they really worked with us to create this brochure. And it's important that we share this brochure around with as many people as possible. In fact, I think we should upload this picture on our Facebook page.
Absolutely.
And we should promote it. It was a lot of work done by Professor D.C. Rao and members of the American Hindu community in Washington, D.C. area. Dr. Shiva.
And Sant Gupta ji, who is the Vice President for Interfaith Relations.
I was going to mention Sant ji's name, Mr. Sant Gupta, Professor D.C. Rao, as well as Dr. Siva Subramaniam of the Siva Vishnu Temple. I was there too, but I was learning from them, as I always try to do. So this was a fantastic effort, and we need to, this is where AJC and the American Jewish Committee met with the Hindu community to figure out how we can, salvage this and how we can share the knowledge of what really the swastika stands for, and dispel the misunderstanding and misappropriation of the swastika as the Hakenkreuz.
Yep. So that actually, 10 years before that, in February 2008, in Jerusalem, there was a Hindu-Jewish leadership summit. A lot of Hindu leaders actually went to Jerusalem to attend that summit. And in that summit, and you can see at the bottom of the brochure, it shows that there was a declaration made. It's called the Declaration of the Second Hindu-Jewish Leadership Summit, February 2008. And that declaration, Utsada, There's a picture of all the Hindu saints and the rabbis from the Jewish community who attended that, and they signed the declaration. And the declaration reads, the swastika is an ancient and greatly auspicious symbol of the Hindu tradition. It is inscribed on the Hindu temples, ritual altars, entrances, and even account books. A distorted version, a distorted version of this sacred symbol was misappropriated by the Third Reich in Germany and abused as an emblem under which heinous crimes were perpetuated against humanity, particularly the Jewish people. The participants recognize that this symbol is and has been sacred to Hindus for millennia, long before its misappropriation. Okay? So that the Jewish community recognizes the sacredness and the importance that Hindus and all the dharmic traditions, the Jains, the Buddhists, the Sikhs, hold when it comes to this symbol of swastika. Not to mention the Native Americans and the Mayans and other people around the world. But Utsuda, look at the politics of this. Okay, look at the politics of it. We started out with one New York State senator who writes up a resolution. There were similar resolutions in Europe that didn't get passed. There was an effort at Brandeis. Actually, they declared at one point swastika as a symbol of hate. There was a student at a university in the DC area who was suspended, who was a Jewish student who went to India, learned the importance, and wanted to educate the community here. So he put up the symbol and he was trying to educate the other students in 2015 about the symbol, and he got suspended. And after a lot of effort and educating to the university, the student was reinstated. Okay, now I understand the ignorance of the state senator. I understand the Jewish sentiment and what drives them at a place like Brandeis or a university in Washington D.C. Okay, all coming out of ignorance, confusing swastika with Hack and Cross. But Utsoda, what about this picture? And I am going to show you a picture, and I want to go back here. I'm sorry. What about this picture? Utsoda, this is a person his name is Rajdeep Sardesai. Rajdeep Sardesai is a very well-known journalist in India. Okay, he has a Hindu-sounding name. He may even be practicing Hindu. Who knows? He puts a swastika symbol. Now, this is one of the most prominent journalists in India. Look what he has done. He puts a swastika symbol and then he puts a Nazi salute. Okay? Which means that Hindus, first of all, it completely discards and discounts the sacredness of swastika. Completely. Okay? And then he insinuates that Hindus who use swastika, millions of temples, hundreds of millions of homes in India, every temple in Japan, every temple in Korea, every temple in China, every temple, a Buddhist temple in Sri Lanka and Myanmar that use this symbol of swastika is now a Nazi.
So, Ajay bhai, I would have to say that, journalists like Rajdeep Sardesai, and we are using his name as a representative of a mindset of a political effort, which is very malified in its intent. But it is not just Rajdeep alone. I mean, there are hundreds of people in India who call themselves intellectuals, who are in universities, who are media people, who absolutely have no idea about these issues. They don't understand they don't even care to understand. I mean, not understanding is one thing, but they don't even make an effort to understand the history and the narrative behind this. They are political individuals. They have an agenda to play for the next year. There is the next state election, the next city council election, the next national election. They will flow with the narrative that is being handed to them. They are influencers. Sometimes those narratives are plain anti-Hindu because they don't really care about Hindus or Jews for that matter. I don't think Rajdeep Sardesai cares about either. But these are people who are looking for the next paycheck that comes with a string attached, and they just run a propaganda, and they keep running it because it helps a certain political party in India in their local political narrative. So in this case, it's most likely he doesn't even care whether that symbol is a swastika or a om or a person doing yoga. He just wants to show Hindutva people as fascist because that's the cool thing to say. You disagree with somebody and you start calling them fascist, and you keep calling them fascist for a couple of times, and somebody will start believing it. Very Goebbelsian approach, if I may say so, and that is the irony of this whole conversation. so this is I think we should educate people about it, talk about it like we are doing right now, but we won't be able to change the Rajdeep Sardesais of the world. And I have personally met him a couple of times in Washington DC when he came here with Modiji's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, and also when his wife came here to spoke at Georgetown University. He doesn't care about facts or any of these things. He has an agenda to peddle, and he's going to peddle it. He gets paid to do that.
So this is Hinduphobia in plain sight. Okay, this is Hinduphobia in plain sight.
Correct.
And no Hindu, no self-respecting Hindu should let this pass. Also, I want to welcome people. I usually do that. I haven't done that. I want to. Mahendraji has said that. Can you please, enter the meeting ID? Mahendraji, we have Mahendra Sapaji has joined, and Mahendra Sapaji is our super sharer because he shares this everywhere. Mahendraji, this is a pinned comment on the Facebook, but I'm also going to share it. We had it at the beginning of the show, but let me share it again. This is how you would join the live conversation. So please join. Other people who have joined, Harsh Gupta ji has joined, and he says that, can I call? Harshji, please call. And he says, I can speak in Hindi better. Harshji, most of our, I don't know, but a lot of our viewers, because we are America based, don't necessarily speak Hindi, but we will be glad to translate what you're saying. If you keep it very brief, then we will be able to spend some time and translate what you are saying into English so that rest of our audience can understand. Hemant Kumar Patel ji has joined, and I want to welcome Hemant ji. Manvendra Dwivedi ji has joined. Welcome, Manvendra ji. Uttam Devnath ji has joined. Welcome to him. Vic Khandelwal ji has joined. Welcome him. And so many others that I cannot see the name. I can't scroll that far up. So with that, I welcome everyone to join. Please do call. We will try our best to translate what you're saying, but please keep the comments brief because translating does take time. The numbers are pinned on our Facebook page. They're also on the slide. I want to move on because we have a lot of other topics. But somebody Manga Anant Mulaji has joined, so I'm going to admit him and hear his comments. He's our first caller.
Mangaji is actually a lady, and she's a Republican Party candidate from Virginia, and she's a Hindu American. I have personally known her. In fact, she's been a friend of the community. So yeah, I welcome Mangaji.
Welcome, Mangaji, and you're on mute, so you may want to unmute.
Sorry.
That's all right. Please go ahead.
Namaskar, everybody. It's absolutely a pleasure always to be among my Hindu brotherhood and sisterhood, because that really what sparks the fire in all of us and connect us to our common cause. I know Chakravarti ji, I know you, and we have always been in touch, and our common ground is always uh, justice for Hindu causes. I mean, this is wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. Just now, they sent me the link. I couldn't resist. I had to pull myself out of another meeting because this is more of my interest.
Well, thank you. Thanks. We appreciate your joining.
Thank you. And it is very, very essential, and it is a very critical time for us all to realize how important our Indians and Hindus are playing a role today in 2020 elections. Either we make it happen or we break it. Make it or break it situation. It is now more than ever, Hindus are awakening and realizing what happened to Hindu Kashmirians, what's happening with Indian diaspora in US, and what exactly is the US stand, and especially the Democrats stand on Hindus and also India. We have always seen over and over again the Democrats stabbing us in the back. Last
So
November.
Mangaji, I hate to interrupt you, but I want to stay on topic as much as possible. So,
Sure.
I understand. We actually did last two shows on the Hindu identity and American elections, and we have one show coming up on that. And I really welcome you to join that show and give your comments. But if you can, if you can talk about the larger context, like the New York resolution or all the city councils passing resolutions, or those would be the pertinent topics for today. So I welcome you to comment on those too.
I mean, it takes you back to the same politics. What authority does city councils even have on issuing any resolution or try to slap another country? It is like a piece of garbage. I mean, we should learn how to discard and throw them and like a piece of garbage into the trash can, and remind every city council that it is none of their job. They are elected to just simply take care of the city and not another country. It is the job of a State Department and the White House to take care of international matters. Why are we giving so much importance to city councils? Why are we not openly trying to shame them, saying that they are out of their bounds? They are out of their job description. You need to go back and start saying this is what I have been saying. Their statement is, as to me, as good as a garbage paper that I would toss out. And I would tell those mayors, you have absolutely no business. You are just piece of garbage. We need to learn to put them on spot and tell them it is none of their business. That's how strong our position is, because President Trump is on our side, justice in our side, and the Kashmir genocide is nothing but a very gruesome, brutal happening that has never been reported, and none of this city operations never did their research.
Right. Mangaji, thank you very much for joining. Please give your website so people can visit your website.
Please do.
And that way, and please do join again, especially when the topics are, where your passion lies. We welcome you to join us anytime. Right. Please give us your website and post it on the chat as well, so that way people can directly contact you.
Mangaji, we should please give us the website address. Please tell us the website where people can go and hear you.
Definitely. My website is mangaforcongress.com, all spelled out.
Okay.
MANGA.
Mangaforcongress.com.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. MANGA for Congress.
Yes, I will post it on your chat. Good job. And never ever give up on Hinduism. Hindu cause are, even when it comes to India matters, American relations, never give up, stand up, fight for it. That's where our dignity is. Let's live
Thank
with
you.
dignity.
Thank
Thank
you, Mangaji. Thank you
Thank
for
you for having
joining.
me on the show.
Bye.
Thank you.
thank you so much. And Ajay bhai, we should put the website for everybody to share. So
Mangaji is posting it, so that's good. So
wonderful.
now I want to move on to the Mangaji already kind of a couple of people called, they were on hold and they hung up. So I want to request them to please call again. And I want to also tell everyone, please keep your comments brief so we can have as many people as possible on the show. We literally had about 3 people call while Mangaji was joining.
So
And
can we
and
call?
again,
Do you
we
know who they were?
Anu Anandji has posted a comment, says, "Why has Hinduism become associated with Trump?" I want to assure you that this show is not partisan political show. We welcome people to join, express the opinion on the topic that we are talking about, and please keep your comments to the topic. And let's we did a show on presidential election a couple of weeks ago, and again, our interest from Hindu Lounge perspective, Hindu Pact perspective, and World Hindu Council of America perspective is that we have sent a questionnaire, a common questionnaire, to all the presidential candidates. And we would like all the presidential candidates to respond to that. We will tabulate that, put the responses side by side, and then let our viewers, let our members, let our community overall decide where they want to cast their vote. This show and this organization and this initiative, so the World Hindu Council of America, Hindu Pact, and Hindu Lounge, does not endorse a particular political candidate. I want to admit one more person who has just joined. I can only see the number, I don't see the name. But please join, and please keep your comments very, very brief. Go ahead. You are your number. If your number starts with 703 area code, you are now on the show. Please go ahead. Namaste. Hello.
Maybe they
Hello.
have. Yeah, please come.
Hello. Hello. Utsavda.
Namaste, namaste. Who is this?
This is Vic.
Hello, Big G. Namaste.
Namaste, Vikji.
I think there is a little delay on the Facebook Live page. I guess it's not fully synchronized. That's okay.
Please go ahead.
So yes, I think your efforts are totally admirable and great. I think I love the effort that you guys are putting into this. The New York State Senator is Kaminsky, right? That's the gentleman that brought the bill.
That's correct. That's correct. The state senator, Mr. Kaminsky, was the one who proposed the bill.
And he is Jewish by the name, I think. Is that right?
I believe so. I believe.
We don't know. We don't know, and we don't want to ascribe a particular faith to him, but it could be.
Yeah, my guess is probably, but yeah, as I said, Ajay Bhai said, we don't want to put a name to the religion.
If there is a way to contact his office and really meet with them and explain to them that Hindus have always had a tradition of tolerance, and it would be like 180 degrees away from any type of a philosophy that a Nazi party might have had. I think that might be a good effort.
That's good, Vikjit. So we as part of Hindu Pact and many organizations, actually, there were at least 3 other organizations: American Hindu Foundation, Hindu American Foundation, and Kona and Hindu Pact. We all reached out to them, and we explained, including giving the AJC, the American Jewish Committee brochure that we shared here in our conversation. We shared it with the New York Senate. I'm pretty sure it with Mr. Kaminsky as well. So this has been shared with them. I think they understand. I also believe that many of them actually don't know, and this effort probably gave them the information they needed. And hopefully, I think that's the reason why it didn't go anywhere in the New York Assembly. And I think this probably is not going to go any further. That's my guess. But we have to continue educating everybody, including Mr. Kaminsky, with more and more information, and urge him to share it along with the the points that he's trying to make, so that it's a balanced conversation.
So that we have other people waiting. Vijay, we have a couple of other people waiting. Did you have any final comments?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, Vijay, and you have been I have seen you in our previous shows. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for supporting us.
Thank you.
Great. I'll go back to the Facebook.
Thank you. And here is someone joining as iPhone. Again, I cannot tell the name of the person who's joining, but welcome and please introduce yourself. Namaste. If your area code, if your phone number is listed as iPhone, you are on. Please, please go ahead. You're now connected.
मैं हर्ष गुप्ता बात कर रहा हूँ.
नमस्ते हर्ष जी.
हाँ जी सर. वो मेरा ये कहना है कि जैसे हमारी पॉपुलेशन काफ़ी है पूरे वर्ल्ड में, बट स्टिल जैसे हमारी कोई कंट्री नहीं है. इवन इंडिया भी एक सेकुलर कंट्री है, तो जब भी हमारा कोई प्रॉब्लम होता है तो कोई कंट्री हमको बैकअप नहीं करती, क्योंकि इंडिया एज ए सेकुलर कंट्री है. वो कोई भी हिंदू रिलीजन के बारे में कोई लीडर बोलेगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि जो अपोजिशन है उसको वो करेगी, अपोज करेगी कि आपने सेकुलर कंट्री है तो आपने रिलीजन के अकेले हिंदू रिलीजन के बारे में क्या बोला. तो आई थिंक ये सबसे बड़ा ड्रॉबैक है कि हमारी 100 करोड़ आबादी है पर हमारे पास कोई मुल्क नहीं है, कोई कंट्री नहीं है.
ओके, हर्ष जी मैं ट्रांसलेट कर देता हूँ एक बार तो लोगों को समझ में आए कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं. So I'll translate this in English what Harsh ji is saying. So Harsh ji's point is when he looks at the issues like swastika and the laws that are being passed, Harsh ji is saying that there are we are a billion Hindus, but there is no Hindu country in the world. And because there is no Hindu country in the world, if there is all the Hindu countries are, where Hindus are in majority are all secular, and so when the Hindu issues come up, there is no one out there to defend Hindus. So that is what Harshji's point is. Harshji, please continue. And I have two more people waiting. तो आप जल्दी से बताइए आपका.
छोटा सा
बताइए.
हाँ, पाकिस्तान एक छोटी सी कंट्री है, घटिया कंट्री है, ठीक है. फिर भी वो कोई मुसलमानों की बात आती है, कहीं पे भी हो, पूरे इंडिया में हो, कश्मीर में हो, तो वो शुरू हो जाते हैं जी इस्लाम को ये हो गया वो हो गया. पर हिंदुओं के साथ कोई प्रॉब्लम है तो हमारी चलो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन छोटी मोटी काम करती, पर वो इतनी इफेक्टिव नहीं है. तो लगे हमको एक ऐसी कंट्री चाहिए जो बोल्ड होके हिंदुइज्म की बात करे. तब तक भी ये प्रॉब्लम चलती रहेगी. बस यही बोलना था मेरे को.
धन्यवाद हर्ष जी. मैं आपका ट्रांसलेट कर देता हूँ. So Harsh ji has said that if there is any problem that Muslims face anywhere in the world, a country like Pakistan always takes up their cause, and we really need to have a Hindu country that would pick up these kinds of causes so that we don't come across when we come across these issues like swastika being maligned, there is someone who backs us up. हर्ष जी, thank you for joining. बहुत ही धन्यवाद आपका. It's indeed true, but as much as what you're saying is true, I would think that there's some basic dharmic principles which are universal in nature should be followed by all the countries in the world and not be limited just to countries with Hindu majority or not just Hindu majority countries speak. We want everyone in the world to speak for Hindus and on Hindu issues.
Sir,
so आपका और दो जो रुके हुए हैं तो आप अगली बार next week call कर दीजिएगा.
बिल्कुल सर. थैंक यू जी.
बहुत ही धन्यवाद. Thank you very much for joining. Utsada, if you have any comments, otherwise we have two people waiting, so I'm going to start getting them in. We have a big backlog here building up. So any comments on what Harshji says? While I admit someone with the area code 301, I'm sorry, I cannot read the name doesn't show because when we are only allowing right now mostly the audio calls and not video calls. Now by mistake we accepted one video call, but our goal is to have audio calls. So a person who dialed in, namaste, if your area code is 301, you are on live with us on the show. Please go ahead.
Okay, namaste, this is Mahendra Sapa.
Namaste Mahendra bhai, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Can I ask a question?
Sure, all yours, please.
Okay, so basically, what we have found out is that lately there are about 5 city councils that has passed anti-CAA and NRC resolutions, right? Now,
Six. Six.
these are city level resolutions, and today it should not have any impact at a larger scale. But what I'm learning here is that if these same resolutions continue to be passed across different cities, then it could enter the U.S. Congressional briefings. And what potentially could happen is that once these things become official record of U.S. congressional briefings, what I'm learning is that in like future, when our grandkids, when they learn about these CA NRC resolutions passed in the city councils, it is purely based on incorrect, false information, demonizing Hinduism. So wouldn't that make our grandkids look down upon ourselves itself? That look, there were these great grandfathers that were abusive and all those false things. So if you could please educate on how does these city council resolutions move up and become part of the congressional briefings, and how this could impact our grandkids and our identity.
So thank you, Mahendra ji. Thank you very much for the question, and you are absolutely right. The reason there is absolutely no position that city councils have on this from a political perspective. It's like Jhumri Talaya in India, a small town in India, passing a resolution on George Floyd's murder in America, and or for that matter, passing a resolution on some hurricane relief fund in Florida. It absolutely makes no difference to Florida or to the hurricane relief fund. So the city councils which are doing this in America are usually controlled by a certain political mindset. It usually comes from a very extreme left position. Only those cities are being approached, and they're the ones passing it. People have intersectional ideas about why they're doing it. Some of them are doing it because India and America are friends, and Prime Minister Modi of India is a friend of President Trump, who America elected. So some of them are simply passing it and because they hate Trump and therefore they hate Modi. It's as simple as that. They don't even look beyond that. Some of them are doing it because they hate Hindus, and they are motivated to do so. So there are a spectrum of reasons why these city councils are passing resolutions against India, targeting Hindus, and the language is usually similar in each of these city councils. In fact, the people pushing these narratives are also usually the same. It's a bunch of pan-Islamic radical individuals who have dubious connections to organizations that are either directly funding terrorism or are part of sympathizers of terrorists. And we were going to go into that in the next part of our conversation. So, and we will name people here. We'll name people who are doing this. And so that's the first part. This comes from a very malintent position. It is so dubious that sometimes many of the city councils are rejecting it, and sometimes they are not going any further beyond the city council. So we need to be aware of it, and this has the potential to blow up, because once it goes on record in one city council and keeps repeating itself again and again, it will be taken up by higher authorities in politics. And they are using this bottom to up approach. They cannot pass a bill in the Congress, so they are starting from the city council. And regarding the effect of the bills and these resolutions on the next generation and the generation after that, yeah, it is mainly aimed at targeting the Hindu youth so that they disown Hindu dharma. There is, it's the Goebbelsian approach where you repeat a lie 1,000 times from official positions wherever you can, and then it becomes official record. And then 50 years down the road, an American Hindu kid will go back and look at the city council's resolution and try to learn to hate Hindu dharma itself without actually knowing that these were all lies. So that's how history is, modified, and history is changed. and hatred is created. So you are absolutely right, Mahendraji. This is the goal.
So sorry to cut you off. We have two other people waiting, and we are almost at the end of the hour. So I want to, Mahendra bhai, thank you very much for calling. Namaste. I really appreciate you calling and all the things that you're doing for Hindu Lounge. Without your support, this show would not even reach a third of the people it is reaching. So a big reason for the success and the reach of this show is actually what you do in terms of sharing and getting people to watch the show and all of that. So Mahendra bhai, thank you very, very much. Please join again next week. And I have two more people online. I'm going to get to them.
Namaste. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So the next person is with area code 803. I can't, again, there's no name. So please, if your area code is 803, please, you're up. Namaste. And thanks for joining Hindu Lounge.
Namaste. I am Rajat from South Carolina. I think Ushabda knows me. I want to ask a question, like what is like the World Hindu Council of America is doing to raise awareness about Hindu persecution of Hindus in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And the American Hindu kids, the previous questions, like they have to know what is happening to the Hindus in their own ancestral place. So I think this is important to raise awareness about the Hindu persecutions that is happening in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, and how to raise the awareness. Thank you.
So Ajay bhai, I would like to respond to
previous questions. Like
Yes,
they have
please,
to
go
know
ahead.
what is happening to the Hindus in their own.
So Ajay bhai, I would respond to Rajatda here, and thank you,
please.
Rajatda, for tuning in. And we have spoken before, and thank you so much for listening to this show. And so this is absolutely right. What you are saying, there is need for creating awareness, and part of the things that we are doing is every time we respond to a city council, reach out to a mayor regarding the attacks on the Hindu community, we explain to them in our briefings the situation of the Hindu minorities in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and in Bangladesh. And we give them statistics, we give them names of individuals, we give them the history. So this is our effort to fight back. And every time we do it, our children, our future generation of American Hindus, they get to know about it. So what we are trying to do at the base level in the city council and in the community is also being done at the US Congress, at the Capitol Hill, among senators, among Congress people. So we are making every effort that we can. As you know, Rajatda, what we are doing is not enough. There needs to be 10 times more effort from our side. There needs to be 10 times more participation from our community. There needs to be 10 times more fundraising. I mean, we are all doing this. I have a work deadline tomorrow, but we have to do this. So we need to have professional efforts going into this. We need to have people supporting us for this effort. The Hindu community has resources. It needs to put the money where their mouth is. So it's a combined effort. We can do this together, but it needs to continue. And thank you. You are the people who inspire us. I was myself in Bangladesh a couple of years ago. I saw firsthand what's going on. I see firsthand. I see still what's going on, and I follow it very closely. So yes, we need everybody's help, but we have to do this, and we have to do more of this.
Rajatda, thank you for joining. We are almost at the end of the show. I still have one more call to take, but please call again next week. Thank you very much, and namaste. Thank you for joining. Namaste.
Namaste.
And with that, I want to welcome Shivang Vaishnavji for joining. Shivangji, audio only call, but please join. And please go ahead. You are almost connected. It says connecting to audio. So you should be on in just a second. And now you're on. So Shivangji, welcome to Hindu Lounge.
Oh, namaste.
Hello?
Namaste,
Namaste.
Soji. What's up, bhai? Namaste.
Namaste, Shivang. It's been a while. We have spoken. Thank you for
This is becoming a Utsav friend and family show here. Everyone knows Utsav, and I thought I know everyone, but not on this show, I guess.
No, I just was listening everything. I don't have many of the constructive comments here, but I just wanted to appreciate always Utsav bhai this effort, and it's quite inspirational. So I just wanted to appreciate for this. Please carry on with the. I would like to let others to comment more and use the time.
Thank you, Shivang. And Ajay Bhai, just to give you a background, Shivang was a student at the University of Maryland, College Park, and we were friends when he was here. We are still friends, but he moved on in life. He has gone to California and made a career for himself. So we stay in touch very sparsely. But Shivang is one of the few people who is very dedicated to the Hindu cause. And I know that he's doing work for the community there. California is a place where a lot of work needs to be done. And Shivang, I need you to know that I try my best to do what we can do. We all try our best, but it's people like Ajay Bhai who have inspired me and continue to inspire me every day. So Ajay Bhai came here a decade before me, probably more than that. But I do things because people like Ajay Bhai inspire me. And
it's a perennial river. Sorry. Yeah, it seems like it's a perennial river coming from Ajay Bhai and beyond.
We have to carry this forward. We have to carry this forward.
I think this is everyone's contribution. This is everyone's show. We are just here to kind of facilitate the conversation. But thank you, and please call again. I mean, I think we'll try to keep the topics interesting, so everyone can participate. Everyone can call. I'm really happy with so many people are calling today. It's just amazing. So thank you, Shivangji.
Of
as
course.
we come towards the end, please call again.
Indeed, sure. Thank you so much again.
Namaste. Bye.
Namaste. Bye.
We had a lot of things planned, but we'll have to push some of it to next week now, especially the caste issue that we were going to talk about and the Cisco case that state of California has brought about. I do want you to go to our two most favorite segments. And the first segment is Hindu Seva or Charity Act of the Week. And Utsara, who do you have for Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week?
So this
we don't use, by the way, the word charity. It's only for people who don't understand English, and we have a lot of people who don't understand Sanskrit or Hindi or Gujarati or one of these Sanskrit-based languages, where there are people, so it's loosely translated to charity, but it really means selfless service. So what is the Hindu Selfless Service or Seva Act of the Week?
So this week we have OVBI, Overseas Volunteers for Better India, the youth volunteer group specifically. We have picked them for the Hindu Seva Charity of the Week. They have been working very hard. Every week in this COVID crisis, there are hundreds of American Hindus and people of Indian origin who have come together to give to the community wherever they can, in whatever little way they can. And OVBI team of youth volunteers successfully distributed this 250 mask ear savers for frontline workers and shipped it to the research facilities across the US, actually specifically in New York and New Jersey area. So my congratulations to the OVBI team and a shout out to Anil Sharma. He has been an inspiration to the OVBI community and the Indian American community. So thank you everybody for doing a good work. OVBI youth team, keep up the good work. And next, I guess you want me to talk about the—
Yes, I'm going to share the screen. That is the most anticipated segment of our show, Hindu Phobe of the Week. Utsada, I'm going to share the screen so you can talk to it. This is, if people don't wake up after looking at this, then I don't know if there is anything that will wake anyone up. So Utsada, I'm going to share my screen and please talk about this one. So let me go to the right slide that we have. And I'm sorry, I just screen share stop, window closed. Okay, I'm going to open it again, and tell me when you can see my screen. I'm going to share it again, and here we go. And so the Hindu Phobe of the Week.
Okay, so I'll give a 10 seconds briefing about waking people up before I go here. And I will let people read through this when I share, when I talk about this. So speaking of waking people up, 10 years ago, I used to think that if something like ISIS ever happens, the world will be able to see the monstrosity of some of the radical religious ideologies can bring upon this world. And I had people who I had spoken to and tried to convince before that, and I would have thought that ISIS would have woken them up. But 10 years later, with all that happened in the last 6-7 years with the Islamic State and everything, these people haven't woken up. So my point about waking people up is that sometimes the facts and the realities lie in front of you. If you don't want to accept it or want to do something about it, you refuse to accept the reality. So some people just never want to wake up, and that's fine. We got to do our work, and we have to keep educating people and do the best for the future generations. Now about this Hindu phobe of the week. Professor Dr. Nasir Ahmed wrote this letter after the San Francisco Board of Supervisors passed a resolution opposing the Citizenship Amendment Act that India made. It's a Hindu phobe resolution that blames India for passing a bill that gave refugee status and equality to hundreds and thousands of refugees from the neighboring regions because they are constitutionally discriminated in those countries, legally discriminated against as second-class citizens, just because they are not Muslims. So if you read through this letter, you will see the level of pan-Islamism that has seeped into many of these city councils, and their effort is to basically Islamize the narrative. If anybody had any conscience in this group of people, or if Dr. Nazir Ahmed had any conscience, he would have at least spent one sentence explaining the way in which the Hindus, the Sikhs, the Christians, and the Buddhists are treated. In fact, the Zoroastrians and the Jews, there's no more Jews left in Pakistan or Afghanistan. The way they are treated by their state institutions legally, because it's part of their constitutions to be treated as second-class citizens. Not one sentence on that, not one sentence. And instead, they launch a tirade against India and the Hindu community in the guise of opposing the Indian Citizenship Amendment Bill, which basically is out there to help these communities. So it is also a shout out to people in America who support different political parties to ask themselves, is your political party against giving support to Hindu minorities who face discrimination legally in some countries? Ask yourself these questions, bring these questions up to your political leaders. But in the meantime, do see what Professor Dr. Nazir Ahmed has done here. And therefore, this week's Hindu phobe of the week is Professor Dr. Nazir Ahmed and many members of his community and organizations.
This is a really, really important issue. And I just want to point out a few things, what he said. He says that after 7 months of consistent, confidential, persistent efforts, so these are the things that people who hate Hindus, people who are Hindu phobes, they're working relentlessly in a confidential and persistent effort to malign Hindus. Okay. And 7 months of effort. And so the Hindus in San Francisco found out about this resolution when it passed, or when it was just about to pass. And I admire the Hindus of San Francisco for taking this up, even at this late stage, not giving up a good fight. I admire the Hindus of San Francisco to, the work that they are doing right now with the mayor and other people in San Francisco. I think we are late on this, but the Hindu community of San Francisco, please do not give up. You are on the right path. You're on the righteous path. These are temporary setbacks. I know that you have a huge hurdle to overcome here, but the Hindu today in San Francisco is awakened. The Hindu in San Francisco knows what is the threat that is staring at them and their children and grandchildren when they read about this resolution years from now. I think the Hindus in San Francisco know that this is an attempt to divide the Hindu community, to divide parents from their children, to divide the global support that the dharmic traditions have garnered through the history. The Hindus in San Francisco know that. And we admire the Hindus of San Francisco for taking this issue up and really bringing out the moral fight that is involved in this, and going to the mayor, going to the community leaders, and standing up for dharmic values, standing up for our Punya Bhumi Bharat, and doing all that they're doing. So that as much as this is about Hindu Phobe of the Week, we also admire the Hindus of San Francisco and Hindus of Chicago and other places for fighting a good fight. Next week, Utsoda, we are going to talk about Hindus in Chicago. And we welcome everyone to join as we continue this conversation. I was so happy today that so many people called and joined the show. Please keep up, please keep calling, and we want you to participate in this show. This is your show. With that, thank you, Utsoda. As always, great show, great preparation work that you have done. Thank you and namaste. And final word from you.
Thank you, Ajay Bhai. And yes, this week we had intended to talk about this resolution and the resolution that is being brought in Chicago. Similar lines, similar, Hindu hate garbed as opposition to CAA, similar modus operandi of secret working for months with one single agenda in mind by many of these groups. But this week we didn't have enough time, so we couldn't get to that part. Next week we are going to talk about it. We should, in the meantime, look forward to reaching out to the city council in San Francisco. We have more information coming out that we are going to publish on our Facebook page, and send a letter, get in touch with us, how you can help educate the San Francisco mayor on this issue. We have a template, we have a letter that we are sending them, and also urge them to explore who are the foreign actors involved in this. We are hearing things about Houston. We are hearing things about China's role in fomenting trouble in America. Maybe they need to connect some dots here. They need to look into this. So talk about it, share your opinion, and tell us what you think about these things. Get in touch with us. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. See you next week.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you.